This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson with Epique Realty, and today I want to talk to a very specific group of people. Anyone who feels like they're behind on buying their first home. So if that's you, if you are feeling like you've been left out, you've missed the train, well, today this one is for you. Maybe you're in your early 30s, late 30s, even early 40s, and you're still renting in the Chattanooga area. Maybe your friends on social media are posting pics about their new home in Ottawa, or they've got a bungalow in North Shore, and you're thinking, what did I do wrong? Did I miss my chance? How did I miss out on this? If that sounds like you, I want you to lean in on this episode, because the problem is not that you're behind. The problem is that the entire landscape of first-time home ownership has changed. Nationally, the typical age of a first-time homebuyer has crept up to around 40 years old. That's the typical first-time homebuyer. That used to be the late 20s back in the 1980s. So right off the bat, if you're in your 30s or 40s and renting, you're not an outlier. You're actually right in the middle of what's normal in 2025. The goalposts moved on you. And today we're going to unpack why, and more importantly, what you can do to change your story in 2026 in the Chattanooga and Northwest Georgia area. Let's start with the big, obvious why, and that's prices. We've all watched housing prices go up over the last few years. Here in the Chattanooga area, we've seen median sales prices move from $230,000 in 2020, it's just 5 years ago. It was $230,000 for a median sales price, and then it has moved to $330,000 in October of 2025. That's great news if you bought a few years ago. You've probably built equity without doing anything other than making your payments. But if you're trying to get into the market for the first time, that jump can feel like the door just slid shut. But here's the mindset shift I want you to make. Your first home does not have to be your dream home, and it probably won't be your forever home. In a market like ours, think in terms of stepping stones, not the finish line. That's really how most of us have gotten into home ownership over the years anyway. It's probably how your parents got into ownership. That might mean your first place is a starter home in East Ridge or a 2-bedroom in Red Bank instead of the fully renovated Craftsman home in St. Elmo that you've been seeing on Instagram. It might mean looking at parts of Highland Park, Brainerd, Hickson, or revitalizing pockets where you can still find homes that need cosmetic updates, paint, flooring, fixtures, instead of a total gut remodel. Those properties don't always show as perfect in listing photos, but they often come with a more approachable price tag and room for some sweat equity. It might also mean crossing the state line to Georgia. A lot of folks I work with are commuting into Chattanooga from Chickamauga, Fort Oglethorpe, Ringgold, and even out toward Lafayette. In many of those areas, you can still get more house for your money than you would in the city or in the hot Hamilton County zip codes. So rather than thinking, I can't buy in Chattanooga, reframe it as, where within a reasonable drive of Chattanooga can I buy a solid stepping stone home? Now, even if prices were flat, we'd still have another big hurdle, and that is debt. Today's first-time home buyers are carrying more monthly payments than any generation before them. Of course, student loans, car loans, credit cards, they all stack up to create the one number that really matters when you apply for a mortgage. That's your debt-to-income ratio, or DTI. On average, Americans with student loans owe close to $40,000. New car payments have climbed into the $600 and $700 a month range, and even used cars aren't far behind. Credit card balances have gone up as well, with average balances around $6,000 to $7,000 per person in America. And lenders don't just look at your income and say, oh, you make $4,000 a month, you're good. No, they look at the payments that go out the door every single month. So if you're bringing in $4,000 before taxes, that's $4,000 gross income, and you've got a $500 plus student loan payment, a $500 or $600 car payment, and a couple $100 in minimum credit card payments, your DTI starts climbing fast. And most lenders like to see that total, all your debts plus your new mortgage, at 45% or less of your gross monthly income. What that means in real life is this: sometimes the fastest path to home ownership in Chattanooga is not making more money, it's lowering the monthly payments that count against you. Now, I've seen situations where someone traded down from a $700 car payment into something more modest. This cut a couple of $100 of monthly debt, and suddenly they qualify for $50,000 more in purchase price. That can be the difference between I can only afford in a neighborhood far away to I can actually buy a single-family home in a neighborhood that I like. So pay attention to your debts. If that's you, start with the low-hanging fruit. Can you refinance or consolidate some high-interest credit cards? Can you realistically drive a less expensive car for a few years? That'll open up your home options. And if you have side income, a side hustle, Uber, DoorDash, freelance work, or a small business, make sure you're documenting it. Lenders typically want a 2-year history of that income on your tax returns before they'll count it towards your DTI. If it doesn't show up on your tax returns, then the lender is not going to count it. Now let's talk about the part that really is a deal killer for many people. That's the down payment. A lot of renters in Chattanooga still believe they need 20% down to buy a home. That is a myth. On a $400,000 house, that's $80,000. Here's the reality. Very few first-time buyers are putting 20% down. That's your reality. The typical down payment for first-time home buyers nationally is actually less than 10% down. And even more important, there are programs specifically designed to help you bridge the gap between what you can save and what you need. You see, here in America, we value home ownership, and so there are government programs and good programs that are going to help you to get into home ownership. Tennessee has the THDA Great Choice program, and when you hear Great Choice Plus, that's where it gets very interesting. Through THDA-approved lenders, eligible buyers can access a 30-year fixed-rate loan plus down payment and closing cost assistance that can reach into the $15,000 range. And that depends on the option and current guidelines. If you're buying in Hamilton County and your income and credit meet the criteria, that can be the difference between we're 3 years away from buying to we can do this in 6 months. Now, inside the city limits of Chattanooga, we also have organizations like Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, that's CNE. They offer counseling and sometimes additional assistance in the form of low or zero interest loans and grants for qualifying buyers. Now, they're not going to buy the house for you, but they might help with that last $5,000 to $10,000 that you're struggling to save for that down payment. And if you're open to living a little farther out, large chunks of the area around Chattanooga qualify for USDA loans. Wait a minute, USDA, isn't that the U.S. Department of Agriculture? Well, yes, it is. And USDA loans are zero-down programs with homes in designated rural areas. It's called the Rural Development Program. And rural on a map can sometimes include suburbs and smaller towns that don't feel rural at all when you're driving around. So if you're looking at Soddy Daisy, Appleton, or large parts of Catoosa and Walker counties, USDA might be on the table. In Georgia, we've got the Georgia Dream Program. That's another state-run program that combines affordable mortgages with down payment assistance. Typically, it's a percentage of the purchase price up to a set cap, and that cap can be higher for teachers, first responders, and healthcare workers. So if you're a nurse commuting to a Chattanooga hospital from Ringgold or a teacher working in Catoosa County, there may be extra help available to you that most of your coworkers have never even heard of. The bottom line here is this. Instead of asking yourself, do I have 20% saved? I want you to start asking, have I talked to a lender or a realtor who actually knows how to use THDA, CNE, USDA, or Georgia Dream in my situation? Because if the answer to that is no, then you don't have the full picture yet. So you need some good, qualified, informed advice. Now, of course, we can't talk about buying in 2025 and 2026 without talking about interest rates. We all remember the unicorn rates from 2020 and 2021 when people were getting 30-year fixed mortgages at 3%. Those days are probably not coming back, certainly not anytime soon. And right now, as of mid-November, the average 30-year fixed rate is hovering just a little over 6%, running right about 6 1/8. That is significantly higher than 3%, of course, but it's also lower than some of the peaks that we saw when rates flirted with 7.5%. It was really just a year ago that we were looking at 7+%, and now we're hovering just above 6% interest rates. So what do you do with that? Well, one option is to say, I'm just going to keep renting until rates go back down. The risk with that strategy is that while you wait, prices may continue to creep up, and you're not building any equity. Another option is to buy a home that fits your budget today. Again, like I said, maybe it's your starter home. Maybe it's a fixer home that you need to do a little bit of work on. But it fits your budget today. And you'll buy with the understanding that you can refinance later if rates do drop. And you can start building some equity right away. Which brings me to the last challenge, and that's the process itself. For many first-time buyers, the process is more intimidating than the money. There are so many terms: pre-approval, appraisal, inspection, underwriting, closing, disclosures, escrow. It all can feel like learning a new language. And if nobody has ever walked you through it, it's easy to feel embarrassed and pull back instead of asking questions. But here's my take. If you've never bought a home before, you shouldn't be expected to know how any of that works. That's what your team is for. Your lender should be willing to explain your options and show you side-by-side comparisons. 3% down versus 5% versus 10%. FHA versus conventional, with and without down payment assistance. All the options. Then your agent, that's where I come in as your realtor, should be walking you through what to expect at each step. When you're going to spend money on inspections. What happens if the appraisal comes in low? How repairs are negotiated. All of it. That's what your realtor will help you do. On top of that, there are free educational tools out there that are designed just for you as a first-time homebuyer. Fannie Mae has an online course called Home View that walks you through the home buying process from start to finish. And locally, organizations like C&E offer homebuyer education workshops and counseling. So as we wrap up, I want to circle back to where we started. If you feel late to the party, well, you're not. The entire playing field just shifted. Prices went up, debts went up, rates went up, and the median age of a first-time buyer climbed right along with them. But that doesn't mean homeownership is off the table for you. Homeownership and the wealth-building opportunity that it offers is still available to you. In Chattanooga and Northwest Georgia, you have options. You can rethink what your first home looks like. Maybe a condo, a townhouse, or a starter home in an emerging neighborhood. You can attack your monthly debt and improve your DTI so that lenders are going to see you differently on paper. You can leverage programs like THDA, Georgia Dream, USDA, and local assistance through groups like C&E that'll shrink your down payment hurdle. And you can work with a team of professionals, a mortgage lender, a realtor, who will turn this from a mysterious black box into a series of clear, manageable steps. The right time to buy a home is not when the headlines say so. It's when your personal finances, your life situation, and your goals line up, and when you've taken the time to understand your options. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm not as behind as I thought, but I have no idea where to start, that's your next step. Start the conversation. Contact me and I can give you guidance. I can connect you with some great lenders who will take the time to educate you and help you make informed decisions. And you don't have to have it all figured out today. You just have to take the next smart step toward owning a piece of the American dream. My name is Blake Watson. You can contact me through LinkedIn or Facebook as Blake Watson, and I'm on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake. My website is at homechattanooga.com, and you are always welcome to call or text me at 423-5 315-1815. I'm an agent with Epique Realty, licensed in Tennessee and Georgia. The office phone is 888-893-3537. Please share this podcast with a friend or family member who may be thinking about buying their first home. And follow this podcast for future episodes. And until next time, I wish you all the best in your real estate journey.